Our guest tonight is Leo Zagami, live from Rome, Italy. I can guarantee this is one of the only opportunities you will ever have to speak with somebody from the Illuminati. Leo, what do you know about the Vatican Observatory that's here in the United States, in Sedona, and the reason why the observatory is sitting there and the possibility of portals or vortexes or contact?
Mount Graham, they have this observatory, which is located on holy ground. The Jesuits went on and implemented this observatory. When the Vatican decided to do this, they were very upset because since ancient times, this location for them is holy ground. The American Indians who live in those areas fought a war because the Vatican were using this observatory to observe the very powerful entities that resides there. That's why there is a lot of mystery around this location, because it's said to be a portal to another dimension where they have the entity that resides there, a very powerful one, and that basically they are using this observatory also to observe the astronomical conjunctions, because they then interpret, the Jesuits usually interpret then those astronomical conjunctions in relation to the prophecies and to what basically will come into fruition in the end of times. So that's why there is a lot of mystery around this controversial really location. Too close with those places like Mount Graham, they are a little bit like places that have a magnetic spiritual vortex, kind of vacuum sites specific, like you have also in the U.S. other places, where you have this kind of energy, this kind of magnetic field, this kind of interaction with other dimensions, such as Taos in New Mexico, Sedona in Arizona, Keystone in Colorado. These places have all their own peculiarity. Then we can go on now to your question, what you would like to know.
The same thing has been going on at Rennes-le-Château in southern France for a couple of 1,000 years. And so with the Priory of Sion, first, is it real? And the version that has surfaced recently with documents relating to the PS.
That the real Priory of Zion comes from two specific traditions. One is the rectified Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and then you have also the Knights Templars in France of the Masonic tradition, which is a mystery school within Freemasonry that was born parallel to it, which perceives to be really the real Illuminati. And they have contact, of course, they have very good knowledge, and for the first time I interview a member that confesses to the fact that they have contact with these alien creatures. Since he was very young, he admits, Jean-Pierre Giudicelli de Bressac de la Bachelerie, he was involved with regular Freemasonry. He held one of the highest positions in the Grand Loge Nationale de France, which is recognized by most American obediences. And he was part, of course, like many others, of the state behind operations. I also talk about another guy called Philippe Cherisset, the Nine Marquis de Cherisset, who was also involved in the Priory of Zion, and I show basically how this Priory of Zion sprang up out of that Rosicrucian, French Rosicrucian tradition. I don't know if your listeners know what the Rosicrucians are, but basically they are probably the closest thing to the idea they have in their heads of the Illuminati in the real sense of the term, because the Rosicrucians are the ones who actually gave birth later on partly also to the Illuminati. They got also themselves corrupted in the course of time by witchcraft, by black magic, and they have also a connection with the Druid tradition. The Druid tradition, the one that celebrates every year in Stonehenge. So for the Illuminati, it's very important that you understand that there can be only a certain number of Illuminati who are aware, totally conscious at one time during the present moment in history. They have to be always in the same numbers, and so these masters that control behind the scene the most occult aspects of the New World Order, they are also basically some of them helping out the coming of the Messiah, as I said earlier, and others the Antichrist. But they are connected to a very, very deep tradition. Members are chosen also after close analysis. They actually have to do a blood analysis.
I wanted to ask you before the break about Aleister Crowley's connection to ET and back to the Illuminati.
Absolutely. Crowley, he went into these particular workings, magical workings, and he came up with this image of the Lamb, this image that is still used now by certain branches of the Illuminati. Well, I find interesting in Hebrews 9:10 for the fact that it says actually until the time of the new order, So these regulations apply until the time of the new order. So even in the Bible you have an announcement of the coming new world order right in front of you. And it comes to the subject of will. Aleister Crowley made it his own religion because in fact the key of his religion is will. Love is the law, love under will. So this constant applying of the will can lead to good things, but also to very bad things. Look, for example, to the triumph of the will of Adolf Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
So, you see, the will is a very powerful tool, and if you are not subjugated by another entity or polluted by negativity from these entities or from yourself, the surroundings, you could really, with your will, implement a real change also in the surroundings. And the power of the will, for that reason, is also part of the concept that we discussed sometimes personally, me and you in private, of egregor and thought form. Because then when you shape your thought and you are more than a person, like a lodge or a group or a sect or anything, then you create an egregor. And the will through the egregor can really become something that can change a whole nation. So this concept is very, very powerful. Definitely, thanks to the listener for putting it forward to us. Universe is basically very ordered thing, you see. It's a very ordered thing that doesn't really, then you have chaos. So if you want to have order, that's the way it works. Everything has to be controlled. So either it's controlled willingly and consciously, or either is controlled by the egregors on top who drive that force.
That is absolutely fascinating. Our guest tonight is Leo Zagami. His new book is Confessions of an Illuminati, live from Rome, Italy. Right now, I just want to let everybody know, I have never seen the phone lines, Twitter, and email light up like it has tonight for our guest, Leo Zagami. If you would like to talk to the author of Confessions of an Illuminati. Absolutely fascinating conversation tonight with Leo Zagami. And Leo, before we get to some more phone calls, we have a connection with the Illuminati and the Rosicrucians right here in the United States with the Georgia Guidestones. Is that a message that we need to worry about?
Yes, I actually touch upon this subject in Volume 2 extensively on my Confessions because it is a warning that should be definitely taken very seriously because of the people behind it being some very important people and linked to the Rosicrucian tradition that is very important in the U.S. So I think that we should take it quite seriously. Of course, analyze it in a way to understand also where they want to go towards the final result of it, which is, of course, an elimination of part of mankind to make then the surviving lot the building ground for this supposed kingdom of God. This place where the Messiah will be taking the situation into his hand and implementing his empire. Because we have to understand that there is a lot of talk now about empire. Star Wars is back.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Star Wars was used at the time by Michael Aquino to create his own mind war concept, and which was supposed to be the ultimate psychological operational concept, based actually also on Star Wars, because Star Wars really shows you the empire. And this empire thing is going to be used more and more for them. They think that, of course, they are on the right side, the force is with them, while instead, of course, they are totally on the dark side. When we talked earlier on about the lamb, the image of the lamb of the first grey, which was drawn by Aleister Crowley, he did it in a specific period of time with his Amalantra workings in January through March of 1918, but he did it in a place, the Dakota Building, in the Upper West Side in New York City, which is the same building where John Lennon used to live, but also where they made the Rosemary's Baby.
Right. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Let's go to Carlos, wild card, right here in Southern California in Carson.
Good evening, Leo. You know, I'm not really sold on the ET phenomena, and I'll tell you why. A lot of ufologists and also Zachariah Sitchin, who talked about the Anunnaki and so on, were under Rockefeller Rothschild grant. Now, the Rockefeller and Rothschilds are part of the Illuminati. They're the evil side of the Illuminati, I guess. So if these ufologists are being financed, including Zachariah Sitchin, by these people, now the whole thing becomes to me very, very suspect.
Thank you for your question, because it goes right into the problem here, the wrong perception of the ET phenomena. The wrong perception because there is an overly materialistic perception. There is not a real understanding of the fact these are extra-dimensional beings. It was very interesting when this round-robin flying roll BSRA document memo made public by the FBI in 2011 came out, because it showed the occult and Illuminati, because the BSRA, which gave this document to the FBI, which was actually dated on the date of Roswell crash, describes how this disc that carry crews under remote control, the mission is peaceful, whatever, but they are extra dimensionals. They come from another dimension, and the concept is very different from the materialistic concept that we have today of the ETs. So if we get into having a deeper understanding of the astral plane, and which correspond with what in that document was called the locus and the thallus, and we have then a deeper understanding of these beings of intelligence, because Crowley wrote in 1944, "My observation of the universe convinces me that there are beings of intelligence and power of a far higher quality than anything we can conceive as human." So Crowley himself said that, and he was not making this up because of Rockefeller. Rockefeller, of course, what they are financing, and of course that's why I have been critical even of Zachariah Sitchin's link with the Vatican, but also with the fact that he could say certain things and he could not say others.
That's right.
So there is a conspiracy to get you to perceive this phenomena in the wrong way. That's why with my books, Volume 1, but especially the upcoming book, Invisible Master, which will be the fourth book in my series, then I will really focus a lot on this matter and describe you how the occultists of the Illuminati perceive these entities, how they evoke them, what kind of places they use, these places we mentioned before, these interdimensional vacuums, these places where it's created this link, these portals to bring in these entities with specific rituals. When we see, for example, Stonehenge, and we just think about, maybe mystery school tradition that simply wants to go in line with the seasons, and that's why every year you see all the druids there doing their thing.
Which is fine, because that's part of it, sure.
It's part of it,
right.
But it's not the only thing. Because then there is the link that in those specific periods of the year are open with those entities from above or from below, depending on the traditions and depending on the will of these people to go towards the angelic realm or the demonic one.
You know what's funny, Leo? As I talk to you, and we've talked so much in the past, but people accuse me. They go, Jimmy, you're a member of the Illuminati. You're one of them, and I go, no, I'm not. If you only knew me. But with you, Leo, if they said you just go, yeah. Yeah, I am.
No, Jimmy is not a member. To what I know, Jimmy is not a member of the Illuminati. He's not a member of my order.